Government shutdown day 30, and the president is taking to Twitter to vent his frustration, writing, Nancy Pelosi and some of the Democrats turned down my offer yesterday before I even got up to speak. They don't see crime and drugs. They only see 2020, which they are not going to win. Best economy. Joining me now, our former Democratic governor of Vermont, Howard Dean, Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst Susan Del Percio, and former Republican congressman and MSNBC political analyst Carlos Curbelo. Welcome, all three of you. Howard, to you first here regarding the president's tweet. So the Democrats did turn down the offer before he spoke. Could that turn out to be a risky move? I mean, do you think Democrats may appear just as unwilling to compromise as they accuse the president of being?
Look, Trump is using the same technique he used not to pay his subcontractors throughout his real estate career. He basically took a whole bunch of stuff away from the people that we care about, which are Americans along the border and people who've lived here for 20 years with American residency. He took that away from them, and then he offered to give us back if we'd give him $5.7 billion.
Yeah, and by the way, only temporarily.
It's
for
extortion.
3 years. Right. But
yeah, temporarily. It's extortion. We're not going to do it. It's a silly offer. He was never serious. It's typical Trump BS and PR.
Susan, I want to play for you what Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York said this morning. Here's that.
We put a deal on the table a year ago to say, we will give you the border security money that you want. We will let you start doing the things you want to do, but you must protect all the dreamers. That was something we were willing to talk about. That is still there for him. The fact that he's saying 3 years just for DACA just shows that he's not serious and he doesn't actually care about moving the country forward.
Wait, Susan, if that is truly still there for the president when they agreed to give him $25 billion, do you think that could be a viable path forward? I mean, is it still there?
Well, the president rejected that offer. That was the problem. He agreed to it, and then at the last minute, he pulled the plug, much like he did at the end of last year in December, which has led us to this shutdown, which is about to enter its second month. Now, the president did put something out there. To go to your earlier question to the governor, I think there may have been a little miscalculation by the Democrats to respond before the president even spoke. Because as we do enter the second month, I definitely think that the president does own this shutdown, but as millions of people are affected by it, not just the 800,000 furloughed, but their families and other vendors, we're going to see people blaming Washington in general, and that will start taking a toll on everyone. I think it's time that the House bring back their offer, at least start the negotiation. I think it was a mistake the president did it the way he did yesterday. There was no reason to go on television, but that's how he chose to do it.
Look,
but now they have to look like they're negotiating because this is now, like I said, entering its second month.
Congressman, do you think the president thinks, if only I could turn back the hands of time and go back to that offer that I rejected? And the question to you really is, why did he reject that offer? Is he someone who gets so easily influenced by, say, the Twitter feed of someone like Ann Coulter that he gets poisoned by that and it turns his mind? He doesn't want that kind of bad PR among his base.
That's right. The president does change his mind often, and he is influenced by some of these individuals on conservative media. I do think that there are probably some regrets in the White House about not taking advantage of a couple big opportunities they had in the last Congress to advance immigration reform. But here's the bottom line, and I agree with Susan. Up until yesterday, the president fully owned this shutdown because he asked for it. He said in front of the country and in front of Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer that he would be the one to shut down the government. However, yesterday he did take a step in the right direction, and I think Democrats were wrong to summarily reject the president's proposal. What they should do, they don't have to accept what the president is proposing. What they should do is make a counteroffer. They claim, a lot of us worked in the last Congress to protect dreamers, to protect TPS beneficiaries. Here's an opportunity to say, let's do something permanent for them, or at least let's do 6 years instead of 3 years. Just saying no is really going to turn off a lot of Americans who aren't part of the Democratic base.
In terms of picking up on the word permanent, Howard, Democrats have been taking the stance that funding a border wall, some physical structure, permanent structure, would be immoral. But back in early 2018, as I said, they were willing to trade the $25 billion in border wall funding for that path to citizenship for the dreamers. So how can they justify their current assertion of moral high ground when it doesn't seem like it was a morality question last year.
The problem is Trump's word is no good. It's never been any good since he was born, really. So nobody trusts him. He changes the rules. He pulls the plug. He says one thing. Don't forget, a bill to fully fund the government passed the Senate and the House. And Trump then pulled the plug, and Mitch McConnell, who is absolutely as complicit in this as Donald Trump is, pulled the plug on that. This is Republican nonsense. It's Republican BS. It's a Republican shutdown. We're happy to negotiate, but we're not negotiating with blather, BS, and Trump phonery of the phoniness of the kind that he's exhibited his entire career.
Look, back to the whole Ann Coulter thing in a Twitter feed, because, Susan, it's no secret that the right-wing pundits are in the president's ear, and the congressman has agreed with you on that, or with my assertion that way. But yesterday, Ann Coulter tweeted, "Trump proposes amnesty. We voted for Trump and got Jeb." Do you, Susan, feel like you're getting Jeb and not Trump with this president?
I wish we had Jeb, but that's just me.
Me too.
Me too.
All in agreement. End of conversation. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But that being said, I mean, the president was very fond of coming out with a line early on in his presidency. I'm president and you're not. And that's exactly what he should tell the commentators out there. There's no one doing him any favors. He's got to be the president and act like it.
Last question to you, Congressman. Are Speaker Pelosi's hands tied here? I mean, is it possible she would like to end the shutdown, but she can't accept any deal with border wall funding because it won't be supported by the Progressive Caucus of House Democrats?
I think that's right. I think Speaker Pelosi, and I got to know her a little over the last 4 years, is at heart a deal maker, an institutionalist. But now she has the same dynamic that Republican leadership had for 8 years when they were in the majority. There's a left flank that's very powerful, that essentially has veto power, and that's going to make it much difficult for there to be a deal. However, time is running out as these federal workers continue struggling, and I think at some point she's going to have to convince liberal Democrats in her caucus that it's time to move forward, that we have to put an end to this. Everyone has to get back at the table. And by the way, I propose Miami as a place where people can negotiate. There are no signs of the polar vortex here, as you can tell, and I think it might make it more likely we reach a deal.
We've all just booked our tickets to Miami, let me assure you. Okay, Howard Dean, Susan Del Percio, Carlos Curbelo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So did we learn a new and potentially explosive detail about President Trump's efforts to build a tower in Russia? We have that new information next.